It's a rule. When a game hits its second remaster, the title must get longer and more convoluted. So for the PS4 and now PC 4K remaster, it's now Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars. It's a substantially repolished version that fixes some of the major issues with the first remaster, but it's the virtual reality component on the PlayStation VR which really stands out. You see, giant mech robots work really well in VR, and Zoe 2 remains an enjoyable sci-fi mech fighter even more than a decade later. Now, initially, Konami planned to just upgrade the entire game to 4K with no plans for VR, but after Sony debuted its PlayStation headset, the team decided to test out a few levels and discovered that it worked out perfect. The result was that the entire game was not only remastered in 4K, but completely realized in VR as well. If you haven't played Zoe or Zone of the Enders before, it's a third-person shooter fighting game which combines long and close-ranged combat. In VR, the team had to make changes to both streamline what's happening in-game and also help reduce any motion sickness. When you're swinging your blade or throwing enemy robots in VR, it's hard to tell what's going on. The shift to VR is not entirely perfect. Close-range battles with multiple enemies are a bit dizzying. Zoe on PSVR is at its best when you either have distance from multiple enemies or are centered on rival robots piloted by human antagonists. Judging from the first chapter, Konami has translated the Robot Mech series very well. Is there a future for Zone of the Enders? Well, according to Konami, that really depends on how fans and new players react to Mars. The game launches on PS4 and PC coming up September 6th. For years, insomniacs have been lulled to sleep by the voice of Bob Ross. The bushy-haired painter whose PBS show The Joy of Painting rose to popularity in the 1990s has lately enjoyed a second life on YouTube. Now, the maker of a popular meditation app hopes Mr. Ross will put everyone else to sleep as well. Calm.com, which produces meditation products, is recasting classic episodes of The Joy of Painting into Sleep Stories, an audio series designed for restless adults to ease the burden of slumber. It's the first time the company that manages Mr. Ross's estate has agreed to license audio of the show that turned Mr. Ross into a celebrity, and after his death in '95, a pop culture favorite. Mr. Ross was born in 1942 in Daytona Beach. In '61, he enlisted in the United States Air Force, where he served for 2 decades and started his life as an artist, painting trees on metal pans. In 1983, he began hosting The Joy of Painting, which attracted viewers enamored by his soulful witticisms, which included phrases like, "We don't make mistakes, we have happy accidents." Even then, his folksy demeanor garnered significant attention. In 1993, he was featured in promos for MTV. His technique, called wet on wet, allowed him to finish painting a scene in about 30 minutes. Mr. Ross said in a 1990 interview that he was not paid to do the show. Instead, he made millions on selling how-to books and painting videotapes and licensing his name for paints, brushes, and easels. He acknowledged, too, that his voice caused some viewers to nod off. They watch it strictly for entertainment value or for relaxation, Mr. Ross told the Orlando Sentinel. "We've gotten letters from people who say they sleep better when the show is on." Michael Smith, a founder of Calm, said in an interview he was browsing in a bookstore in San Francisco more than a year ago when he came across Mr. Ross's Happy Little Accidents, the wit and wisdom of Bob Ross. It was chock full of the artist's iconic phrases. Mr. Ross spoke fondly, in particular, of the landscapes he painted with happy little trees. Mr. Smith grew up in Marlow, about 35 miles away from London, and had not heard of Mr. Ross, so he looked him up online and came across his show. He said he contacted Bob Ross Incorporated to see if it would allow Calm to use audio from The Joy of Painting for its Sleep series. He wanted to go on and on forever. He had a thirst to become a household name. The new app gives Mr. Ross another life. You can download the Calm app right now from the App Store for Android or Apple and enjoy 2 sleep stories from Bob Ross. And finally, happening in this week's What The, a visitor to Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom in Florida captured video of a crime. A sneaky squirrel stealing some M&Ms from a store. A video captured by Jessica Dornfield and posted to Facebook by friend Brianna Bradshaw showed the cute little shoplifter grabbing a pack of peanut M&Ms off a rack at a store in the Magic Kingdom. A worker swats at the squirrel in an attempt to stop the theft, but the sweet-toothed rodent dashes out of the store and into the amusement park with its ill-gotten gains. The incident wasn't the first unusual squirrel stunt at the amusement park. A squirrel was caught on camera back in February climbing on a Disney performer dressed as Princess Merida from Brave as she continued to sign autographs. Thanks for watching your weekly tech update. If you have a story you think I should feature on the program, you need to shoot me an email, djraymcneil@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at Your Weekly Tech Update and check out our podcast, audio and video versions available on iTunes and elsewhere. Till next time, I'm Ray McNeil. Good night, world. Your Weekly Tech Update brought to you by Holiday Home Care, Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia. It's your turn to relax. Thank you.